Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Daybreak on Trust Television, reaching you from the nation's capital. I am Ayuba Ilia.
And I'm Zainab Bala. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Welcome back, Ayuba.
Thank you so much. It feels very good to be back, really. I enjoyed I won't say I enjoyed it, but because it's been work, back to back.
We actually missed you here.
Yeah, I miss you guys too. And of course, I miss the viewers out there. It's not been easy, but we have to keep the content coming, isn't it? And that's why I was away. I traveled as far as Cotonou.
Oh, it would be interesting.
Before realizing it.
It would be interesting, to see what you found out.
Yeah, well, working on textile in Nigeria and, of course, all the impediments. Certainly, you cannot talk about the impediments without talking about smuggling. And so that's what we went to check out. You want to watch the episodes that we have lined up for you as far as reviving textile in Nigeria is concerned. That will be coming only on Trust TV. And so we will be showing you that. Just stay glued to the channel and also follow us across all social media handles. On Daybreak today, we have quite a lot lined up for you, and we'll be talking about the issue of sustainable agriculture. And we have architect Kabiru Ibrahim, who will be joining us for the discussion. And also we'll be taking a look at the issue of water supply in the FCT. We'll be joined by FCT Director Water Supply to talk about the issue of the shutdown. We saw a circular I think about a week ago or so,
yes,
talking about the proposed plan to shut down some lines for maintenance of water in Nigeria, in the FCT. So we'll be talking about that. That's supposed to happen today and tomorrow.
And people are actually anticipating that. Some are already filling up their jerry cans and all of that, anticipating the shutdown. And there's been a kind of outcry, from the public as well, saying, this shouldn't be coming at this time. Why now?
So when now? when is the appropriate time? I mean, because the thing is, there has to be maintenance. So I understand the inconvenience attached to that, but it's necessary that we have this, maintenance. I mean, people talk about Nigeria doing very poorly when it comes to issue of maintenance, maintenance culture and all that. So I think the FCT Water Board should be commended, in fact, for even doing that. I know it's going to cause some inconvenience, and that's why the information was put out earlier for people to stop water and, make sure that they do as much as possible. Prepared, yes. Well, that's it. We will be taking a look at the dailies on Daybreak, and we have Stella Iyaji, Managing Editor, Daily Trust newspaper, joining us in the studio. Stay tuned. That will be after this short break. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that
not necessarily tribal or regional.
Welcome back. You are still watching Daybreak on Trust Television. Right about now, we're going to take a look at our dailies today on Daybreak, starting with the Daily Trust newspaper.
Yes, we have Daily Trust newspaper here, hard copy, and you can pick a copy in case you are yet to do so. It's quite early, I know, but you can just, make an arrangement to get one. Quite a lot of interesting stories we are seeing this morning. The first story there you could see is about 40 listed insurance companies fined 1 billion naira over infractions. And then you have the lead story there saying 18 months after Buhari's directive, Orosanye report still stuck. You would find the right there saying how lobbyists killed implementation under Jonathan. Report outdated. Debt, head of service. We are on course, finance minister. And then you have, the graphical representation of the journey about the Oronsanye report. And also, you would see below that, shock as suspended Kano black market judge bounces back. You would see by the right corner of the paper, NPAN gives November 1 deadline for newspapers to appoint ombudsman. You would find that on page 6. Village head abducted in Katsina. Why Yauri student release was stalled at last minute. These are some of the stories on Daily Trust today.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the stories on the Punch newspaper this morning. Right on page 27, you would find federal government FG personnel costs rises by 79.48%, gobs 13.2 trillion in 4 years. And on page 14, you'd find Pandora Papers. EFCC opens probe of Obi Odwa, MPA boss, others. And on page 14, you'd find NAF denies paying 20 million to save Buhari's plane from bandits. And on page 25, you'd find 750,000 empty supply gap. Forex shoot cooking gas above 8,000. And the big headline right there states, which you find on page 2, APC parallel congresses. Amosun Aregbesola Lai may lose out party to back governors. And the rider is saying it's the practice to respect incumbent governors. They are party leaders. That's according to National Caucus member. And another rider states legal congresses won't be recognized. That's according to the APC. And then mass defection looms, says Muiz Banire. And on page 10, you'd find NSCDC threatens operators' arrest. Lists 4 deaths in Ondo boat accidents. And on page 4, you'd find a woman flees as man hacks rival lover to death in Ogun. And you find on page 4 and page 5, fleeing Lagos task force officers shoot banker for protesting car damage. That's quite a sad story. And you get to find that on the Punch newspaper.
All right. On the Nation newspaper this morning, some of the stories goes, Minister Railway paying back loans, says government targets 6,000 kilometer lines. You would find also Kogi government to EFCC, disclose custodian of missing cash. Other stories say, MTN blames outage on 3G, 4G technical error. NNPC accountable, transparent, says Kyari. You would also find the lead story on the Nation newspaper. Secondus Anyao deepen PDP pre-convention crisis. You'd also see the riders there saying suspended chair won't withdraw case. Southeast chieftains reject governor's candidate for secretary. And you'd also find below the picture there showing you Buhari's wife seeks action against cancer. And that's the picture there you are seeing. All right, that's that on the Nation newspaper.
Okay, heading on to the Blueprint newspaper. There's quite a lot on the Blueprint newspaper this morning. APC nullifies parallel congresses in Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Kano, others. And the big headline there states, in one voice, Igbo traders, residents say enough of this. We've lost so much to sit at home. And the rider is saying businesses relocating from southeast. That's according to Ebonyi Commissioner. IPOB might lose Igbo support. That's according to Ohaneze. And still on page 6, it's time bomb waiting to explode. That's according to an Enugu speaker. Let Kanu off the hook to town unions. And on page 5, you'd find abducted Emir of Bungudu regains freedom. Police confirms kidnap of 2 Lafayette Varsity students. And on page 4, you'd find Ombudsman NPAN sets November 1st deadline for members. And on page 30, group pledges to develop Quran recitation skills in FCT schools. And you'd also find presidency will shift to South in 2023 through Swaga. That's according to Olulade. And you'd also find NITR board petitions presidency, minister over planned dissolution. These are some of the stories on the blueprint.
All right. Well, then, let's get some perspectives on some of the stories that we just saw on the dailies this morning. Like I told you, we have Stella Iyaji, managing editor, Daily Trust newspaper, in the studio to discuss some of the stories that made the headlines. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome
Thank you
to
for
the
having
show.
me.
Come on the show. All right, of course, we'll begin with Daily Trust. The lead story there says 18 months after Buhari's directive, Oron Saye report still stuck. Someone is watching. What's this Oron Saye report all about? Can you take us through maybe some of the highlights of this report?
You see, the thing is, the Oron Saye report has been there for a very long time. It came in under the Jonathan administration. And the thing about the report was that it was aimed at cutting costs at the end of it. Because what they recommended was that there was a need to merge some of these ministries and MDAs. There was a need to merge some of them so that we do not have bloated working, so that we do not have too many staff that are not doing enough. If you look at our budget, the Nigerian budget, every year we spend so much on recurrent more than the capital. In fact, sometimes we even borrow to supplement the recurring. And most of that recurring budget is spent on salaries. So what this committee did was to say, okay, make some of these ministries and MDAs and all of that so that we have a smaller workforce. And people, for instance, in Nigeria today, you see some agencies that are doing things that are similar. So what the report is saying that bring these people together and then you cut costs. For instance, if you have all of them working separately, you need to have structures, you need to have vehicles, and then you need the maintenance and all of that. So the report is saying, reduce this and, then we spend less. Unfortunately, this report has been there on the shelf, just like many other reports that we have in this country. You go through, there will be painstaking job done to get the report. A white paper will even be issued, but then nothing will be done. It's very unfortunate that after the Jonathan administration left, the Buhari administration came in, and 18 months after, nothing has been done about this. But especially at the time when we're shouting we don't have resources. This is the time to actually say, okay, fine, bring this report, let's see what we can do. It doesn't necessarily mean sack people, but you can actually get people to do more if you merge some of these agencies and ministries.
So what do you think is stalling, the implementation, of the report?
Well, if you read the Daily Trust report, it's saying lobbyists, politicians, people who have interests here and there. But I can tell you that this interest, I do not believe, is in the interest of the overall nation, because there's a need, and an urgent need, to revisit this report so that if there's any way we can cut costs, especially in the recurrent area, it's important to look at it. I mean, how do you have a budget that every year you're spending so much on recurrent and very little on capital? No country can develop like that. How do you borrow money to pay salaries? That's what we're doing at the moment. And I believe that if you merge some of these agencies and ministries, the workers may even do more. And when they do more, the country benefits out of that, instead of just having... There are some offices
and
now
we're even talking about 2022 budget having a deficit of almost 7 trillion.
Already. And we're going to borrow to fund a substantial part of that budget. So this is the time to actually... I think this story came at a very good time, so that if indeed nobody was thinking of bringing back this report, this is the time to say, okay, let's look at this report. Do we have an over-bloated workforce? I know when you talk about over-bloated workforce, people start getting jittery to say, okay, you want to sack. But it's not really about sacking. It's about ensuring that people who are there to work are actually working. I can tell you that there are some agencies now where they have staff who do not even have seats. They just come in, they sign in, and they leave. And they get paid at the end of the month. Now, this is the time to look at things like that and say, okay, do we really need these people? And if they're not needed in this area, why don't we move them to this other area where they can?
Some of them that were even established maybe in the 60s and all of that no longer have relevance at the moment because of the changes.
Because of technology and all of that. So this is the time to say, okay, let's merge them. I mean, if you look at them now, there are some that you can measure up to 3 or 4. And when you measure those 3 or 4, you find that you're not going to have 4 offices. And then apart from the head offices in Abuja, you have them in states, and you're funding them, you're maintaining them. You have project vehicles for these offices.
You have MDs and CEOs.
Yes, you have MDs and CEOs. And MDs and CEOs have other people working for them and all of that.
They have PAs and the rest.
They have PAs, they have so many kind of aids that you cannot even understand. So this is a time, anytime you look at our budget, I worry. It's always recurrent. How do you borrow to pay salaries?
One thing's about the commitment and the political will to implement some of these reports, but because like you said, this is not the only report that we've seen. That there will be a huge amount of money that will be spent on some of these committees, and then at the end of the day, they will come up with reports. I recall also the 2014 national conference that. A whole lot of conversation has been going on about that, and a whole lot of other reports, the Ways report and the rest of them. And you find that implementation of some of those recommendations, are lacking. What does that say about the commitment, political will, to, do the needful in Nigeria?
The thing is, what I've come to realize in Nigeria is that if there's a problem, the first thing we throw at that thing is a conference. Or another thing is set up a committee. Or when they want to go too far, they'll set up a commission. But the truth of the matter is that sometimes the way I see it is a quick approach so that they'll stop disturbing us. So let's say this thing so that it will look like we have taken action. You understand? And that is why I think they don't follow it through. Because they feel, okay, we've set up a committee. That's what the nation wanted. That's what people were clamoring for. We set up a committee. So nobody really follows through to say, okay, the report has come. Because if indeed you are looking for a solution to that problem, you follow through. You will ensure that the white paper comes out. There are some reports that there's, till date, no white paper on those reports. And now, when those committee members were sitting, they were getting allowances for the sitting. Some of them will be flown from wherever they are to Abuja. Money wasted. For what? If you're going to spend money, you're going to set up committee, then you should follow through, ensure that the report comes out, and then act on them. Sometimes when I hear that a committee is going to be set up, what comes to my mind is again or not again, because there are so many reports on the shelf. And when a problem comes up, a new problem, instead of saying, oh, a similar committee on this issue was set up, why don't we go back to that and see what they recommended? We'll set up a new committee. So we keep having committees upon committees. And in fact, if a particular committee does not do their work, we'll set up a committee to look at that committee. Yes, that's what we do in Nigeria.
So it begins to look like an avenue to kind of maybe silence the public,
right.
Or maybe to compensate, maybe some kind of political compensation for certain
yes,
loyalists and all of that.
And sometimes it's those people that were shouting that will be members of those committees or their friends. So by the time they bring them as members of those committees, they are paid allowances here and there. That problem is just swept. It doesn't die. Yes. It's swept under the carpet because it's going to come up again. Because as long as it's a problem, it's a problem. So it will come up again. So the issue is, why don't you see through if the committee? In fact, look at this Orosanye committee. It was a serious committee made up of very serious individuals in Nigeria, and the report is still on the shelf gathering dust. And we're borrowing.
Talking about committees, this same committee, they recommended that the federal government should discontinue funding of professional bodies and councils. Well, some would say that that's not really a brave move to make. What are your criticisms about this?
But should federal government be funding them, really? Yeah, should federal government be funding them? I do not think the federal government should fund them. The federal government has loads of things that it is doing and should be doing. Professional bodies should source for their funds. They should tax themselves. They should seek funding. But the federal government has a lot of things to do that will affect the average Nigerian, the common man. And it's time the federal government actually looked at the things that it needs to do and be focused on those things. And that is why it is time to go back to this committee report.
The head of service is saying, from what we are seeing here, that the report is outdated. Do you agree with that?
It's very unfortunate that we're saying something like that. A report that resources were spent to put together, man hours, money, and now they say it's outdated. How did it become outdated? Because action was not taken. If action was taken when it should have been taken, why would we say it's outdated now? And in any case, I do not believe that the entire report can be outdated. There must be parts of it that we can look at again and say, okay, let's take this part. Okay, this part is outdated because of time, but the entire report cannot be outdated. I think that's an easy way out.
All right, now let's take a look at other papers now. The Nation this morning, for instance, is talking about PDP crisis. In the past, over the weekend, it's been congresses, for political parties here and there, and Secondos Anyao deepened PDP pre-convention crisis. Do you think that this is all about 2023, and are we making the right moves, really?
Everything right now is about 2023. Anything any political party is doing right now is about 2023. And for PDP, it saddens me that this is the path that they have chosen. The PDP was supposed to be, they are the biggest opposition right now, but they've not played that role at all. Because since this APC came into power, all the PDP has done is fight. So they have been fighting so much that they have not had the time to play their role as the opposition party in the country. And that is sad, because Nigerians actually expected more from them. The APC, when they were not in power, they were strong opposition. At least they were talking, they were issuing statements and all of that. But the PDP has not had that time because they've been doing infighting. And I do not think that that's the way to go. Fine. Now, as much as, okay, they've wasted a lot of time doing that infighting and not being able to provide that opposition that Nigerians need. But I do not think that all is lost. They can start now, but they cannot do that if they continue to fight amongst themselves. It is time for some people to sacrifice their ambitions. It is time for some people to look beyond that. I think why we keep hearing of these fights, and look at the APC, their Congress at the weekend was, factions here and there. And it's all because of selfish reasons. It's because everybody has an ambition, everybody wants to get something. If the political parties are all about leadership, if they actually want to give Nigerians the kind of leadership that Nigerians require, they won't be fighting this much. Because, to lead people is a difficult task. So I do not think you want to fight or kill anybody to get that role, if indeed you're coming genuinely to rule. So, but if you're fighting because you want to get a position, I begin to wonder,
how would you describe the status of our political parties in Nigeria?
Nigerian politicians are all about what they will get. So the parties are made up of these people that are all about what they can get. So that's why you see a lot of defections. You see someone defecting from APC to PDP, and after some time defects from PDP to APC, and then you begin to ask yourself, what does this person believe in? What does he stand for? What does he hope to give as a leader, really? Because is it about where my bread is buttered now? Do you understand? Yeah. So that's the kind of thing you see in Nigerian political parties. It's all about, the parties are the people, right? So it's all about what they can get.
And the conversation seems to be more about APC, PDP. We don't get to hear much about the other political parties, playing critical roles in terms of they playing this role of opposition, like you're saying. And just now we hear that there's problem in PDP, and it looks like we don't even have an opposition. What does that say about coming elections? Is this does this tell well on the coming elections in Nigeria and the need for us to have multiplicity in terms of political parties?
Okay. When you see the APC going the way it's going and then the PDP going the way it's going, and then you hear some people saying they want to form a third force, you get excited because you're thinking, okay, maybe these people are coming to bring something fresh, right? And then Nigerians are optimistic. But again, in the past, if you look at what has happened in the past, most people that even come with this idea of third force, not all of them, some of them, they are not genuine about a third force. They just want to be noticed. And then by the time they come out and start saying, oh, we want to bring this third force and all of that, the big parties start poaching them because they have sold themselves on the national scene. Do you understand? So what Nigeria actually needs right now are it's a party or a group of people who are genuine about the country, who want to actually bring that change that Nigerians want. If it's the APC that wants to bring that change that Nigerians wants, they can still do that. If it's the PDP, they can't. But if it's some small parties can even come together now and merge and say, okay, fine, we do not like the way things are. We can change it. And then this is what we want to do to change it. But again, they will need to do a lot for Nigerians to key in, because they have done it several times. And we see that all they are looking for is appointments. They'll come out today and say, we want to do this third, first thing. Before you know it, they'll say APC. APC has taken some of them, PDP has taken some of them, and at the end of the day, you don't have this third force that you're looking for. And Nigeria really needs a group of politicians right now that care about the country.
What are we supposed to see? What should they do differently?
Yes, the third force,
yes,
or whoever is coming.
Aspirant, whoever is coming.
They should care about the country first. They should care about the people. It should not. See, what we have come to understand about Nigerian politicians is that they are all about themselves. No matter what they tell us, no matter the manifesto they bring, all they need to do is come, give us this manifesto, tell us all of this thing, and then they win and disappear. We don't see them again until the next election, or when they are coming to campaign for local government, for their party again. So these new people, or whoever is coming now, should actually, and Nigerians should also be perceptive. We should want to listen. What are they bringing to the table?
Right.
It's not just about, I want change. These people are not doing well. Okay, fine. They're not doing well. What do you want to do? We should want to listen. In the past, we have made mistakes where people have said, this person is not good, that person is not good. But we didn't listen. We didn't keep quiet to say, okay, this person is not good. What are you bringing new? What are you bringing to the table that is new?
And you know, with all this infighting that we are seeing and these factions that we are seeing in the political parties, it shows that this is the beginning of where the real issues about selecting leaders, you know, start from.
Yeah.
And what does this say? You know, all of these factions and everything, what does this say about the quality of, you know, the kind of leaders that we churn out that represent parties at the end of the day?
You know, we cannot claim to have democracy nationally if there is no internal democracy in the parties. So already, if this is going on, the process will be flawed. And if the process is flawed from within the parties, you can imagine what you're going to get at the national level. Do you understand? From today now, we're going to start doing stories of who are the losers and winners of the APC congresses at the weekend. Now, and most of these people that are winners, as it were, are not winners because they are going to bring a better alternative. They are winners because they have bigger godfathers. Like they say, I have a big God in Nigeria. They are winners because they have big God. Or do you understand? So I think internal democracy is very important, because it is when there's internal democracy that you can get the best from the party. I mean, in Nigeria today, you can't really run as an individual candidate and get anywhere. So we still have to rely on the parties. So it's important for the parties to get their acts together and let them have internal democracy, because it is from a transparent process that you can get good candidates, because that means that for everybody in the parties to say, okay, it's this person, it therefore means that they have seen something in that person. And if you're bringing that person to the national stage or the state level, it's something. But if maybe the person is getting it because he has, you know,
he has godfathers.
He has godfathers.
And he's not a credible person.
He's not a credible person.
That's a problem.
Yeah, a huge one.
I think one other interesting, you know, headline that caught my eye is the one on the Blueprint newspaper, which states, in one voice, Igbo traders, residents say, enough of this. We've lost so much to sit at home. You know, we've seen how, you know, traders have shut down their businesses because of the scare of the sit-at-home order. What are your now? With this statement, what are your thoughts about the whole scenario?
I'm joining them to say enough. I'm joining them to say enough. See, the Igbos are traders. They get their money from going out daily.
We all know
they are
that.
business people. So they sit at home, they are destroying their economy. I've never seen anything that is more self-destructing like this. I sit back and I'm like, but why would you want to destroy your region because you're fighting for a cause? Yes, fight for the cause, but do it in a way that you don't destroy yourself. They are destroying themselves. I don't understand why because you say you want a particular thing, you don't go out, and the sad part is that a lot of people that are staying at home now are not staying at home because they want to stay at home. They're staying at home because they're scared of IPOB.
Right.
They're staying at home because they don't want to be attacked. They're staying at home because they don't want their cars and their shops to be burnt. That's not the way to live. If a group of people have decided that this is the way to go, don't force it on other people. Do your thing and leave the others who feel that they still want to belong to the Nigeria project, as it were, or they still want to go about their legitimate businesses. And another thing you must understand is that as much as the Igbos are very industrious and all of that, there will still be, just like every other part of Nigeria, there will still be some criminals among them.
Right.
Those criminals are the ones that are taking advantage of the situation. You understand? They don't have anything serious to lose. That's what I feel. Because if they had businesses, if they had shops that they will wake up in the morning and go to, they won't subscribe to this sit-at-home thing. Because you're sitting at home for what? Okay, you say because the IPOB leader has been arrested, but then there's a judicial process.
Right.
Allow that to follow through. And let the people go about their normal businesses. That region is crumbling, and it's not proper.
Now, despite, the agitations by the IPOB, with all of this and the reactions as well, it seems not all of the Igbos are in support of IPOB's cause. What are your thoughts about that?
Just like every other cause, not everybody will buy into it. Not everybody will support it. So I believe a lot of Igbos, okay, some of them are in support of it, although not as vocal as some, but a lot of them, even if they were in support from the initial stage, right now, because a lot of them are suffering from it, they are now beginning to if you, the Blueprint story said that the IPOB is now losing support, which is only natural because the people can no longer go out to fend for themselves, and that is a big problem. So, of course, that will happen, but then, nobody actually told the Igbos not to fight for their cause, as it were. The only problem is the mode, the process. That is what people are against. You can actually fight for whatever you want to through a legitimate means. You don't have to stop anybody from going about their normal businesses. You don't have to. In fact, what they are doing is criminal. You don't stop anybody from going about. Everybody is covered under the Nigerian Constitution to move about their legitimate businesses. So saying nobody, it's a criminal offense.
So, but there's also this part of the failure of the state to guarantee the safety of law-abiding citizens, law-abiding Nigerians. There are people in the southeast that are law-abiding citizens, but they are caught up in the middle of this. Like you said, they are scared of going about their normal duties. Does the state has a responsibility to guarantee their safety? And if that's the case, are they doing that?
The state has a responsibility to guarantee their safety. But what is happening in the South is, unfortunately, it appears like there are two leaders in the Southeast now. Because you see the IPOB issuing a statement, the state government will say, no, there's no sit at home. But the people will stay at home. You know why? Because the people are more afraid of IPOB than the state government. And they know that the state government cannot protect them when the IPOB attacks them. I don't know if the hands of the state governments are tied. I don't know if there's no political will, but I think there's something wrong somewhere. Because the people, a situation where a group is now able to determine what happens in a state, the chief executive officer of that state should be worried. And that is what is happening in most states in the Southeast. How can you be a chief executive officer and somebody else is calling the shots? That's what is happening there. And it's time for them to actually sit back and ask themselves, what is going on? What are we not doing well? If they need to seek help from the federal government, whatever help they need, they should ask for it. But the fact that the IPOB will tell people to stay at home, and on that particular day the streets are dry, it means that the chief executive officers have lost control.
Right.
And it's unfortunate.
There's this statement that worries me. The town unions are saying, let KANU off the hook. And I know this is coming because of the scare. What are your thoughts about that? Should KANU be let off the hook just like that?
No, I think what they should be asking for is expedite the judicial process. Let the judicial process be followed through. If he needs to be arraigned in court today, the security agencies should ensure that he's in court. Let the process be expedited so that we can see this thing to a logical conclusion. Kanu is not being held because he was a normal citizen in his house and somebody went and picked him up. He's being held for certain offenses, and he has to answer for those offenses. You can't just let him off the hook. If you do that, what signal will you be sending? What message will you be sending to every other Nigerian? That you can get up and do A and B and somebody will say, you know. So what they should be asking for is follow the judicial process. When he's supposed to be in court, is he in court? Does he have a lawyer? Is he being allowed to speak to his lawyer? Those are the issues they should be asking for. And then they should monitor the process. If at any point he doesn't have a lawyer or something, he's not in court, they should ask why he was supposed to be arraigned today, why was he not arraigned? They should follow that, you know, they will know that, you know, they are genuinely. But to just come out and say, let him be, he can't be let off the hook. I know that when he was arrested, some certain allegations were leveled against him. He needs to answer for them. He can plead guilty, he can plead not guilty, but he needs to.
All right, well, that's a very important point there. Let's take a look at some other stories. The Guardian leads with a story here that says, ghosts of NSAS, that's a ghost of hashtag NSAS hunts FG's policies on power, petrol subsidies. You would also see certain writers saying LCCI estimates losses at about 700 billion. Economists say over 1 trillion lost to mayhem. Insurers settled 5.4 billion naira. Hashtag NSAS claims. Private sector, government yet to recover from NSAS, says ex-LCCI boss. That's the lead story on The Guardian this morning. Like we've been talking about reports, committees, and so on and so forth. We saw the NSAS panel that was set up, you know, in the wake of the NSAS protest, and a whole lot was done. It took months, about some of them 6 months, you know, to, you know, conclude on the investigations that they were doing. But we are seeing that some of those issues are yet to be resolved completely. Here, Guardian is leading with the stories. What are your thoughts on this?
During the NSAS, some people were injured, some people lost property, and all of that needs to be addressed. It was a good thing that that panel was set up, but the panel needs to conclude its work, everything, and ensure that anybody that needs to be compensated is compensated. Anybody that needs to be punished, if it's on the part of the protesters or on the part of the security agents, they should be punished. Closure is important, because if that is not done, issues will still come up. You understand? At the weekend, there was this call on social media for people to come out for the anniversary of the NSAS. Do you understand? And I was thinking in my head, I hope this does not turn into another crisis. Do you get? Yeah. So it's important for the report. They took a break, a long break, and then they just came back. It's important for them to sit down and conclude that work, so that there will be closure for everybody concerned, and then we can move forward from there.
You know, during the NSAS protest, even when government came out to say, oh, okay, we are going to set up a panel to look at the concerns that were raised and all of that, the protesters were reluctant about leaving the streets, because as far as they're concerned, going that route, setting up committee is like a dead end, because like we've always seen, set up panel, committee, at the end of the day, the reports, you don't get to hear anything on the recommendations and all of that. Yeah. How important is ending this process to, you know, in terms of regaining the confidence of the public and trust, you know, and all of that?
That's the only way out. You understand? So you cannot overemphasize its importance, because, as like you said, they were reluctant, because people will be like, another committee, another panel. So what will come out of it? Do you understand? In fact, Nigerians, there are Nigerians that would rather do whatever it is they need to do rather than go face a panel. Do you understand? They'll take the laws into their hands. And why would they do that? Because they do not have confidence in your panel. They don't have confidence in your committee. I think the government will do well to use this as an example, that indeed we'll set up a committee and we follow through. They should ensure that the recommendations are followed through. Let them, whatever is recommended should be implemented. Do you understand? And let's not go back to those days of NSAS and, You know, they should ensure that this new, the new group that replaced the SARS people do not follow that route any longer and all of that. And ensure that anybody, those to be compensated should be compensated, and it should be seen by members of the public that that was done. Those to be punished, if they are security agents, name and shame, call their names out. Say, okay, this person did this was what he did during the, he didn't act in a civil manner towards the protesters and all of that. So because of that, he's going to be punished for this. Do all of that and let people see that you have done that, so that Nigerians can believe that, okay, when you say you're setting up a panel, you actually have, you intend to see it through and
believe in the process.
Believe in the process yourself.
All right, then. We'll go on a quick break now, and then when we come back, the show will continue. Please stay with us.
My name is Samuel Dada. Yakubu Isa, ana mana kabila jeji.
Aminu Musa.
A wannan harkar ce muke dan samun abinci, an muke taimaka mu wasu da yawa.
Looking for private jobs, sometimes you get employed and the process of payment, you know, you undergo some kind of stress.
Get latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the Trust TV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search Trust TV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Nice to see you, son. You got a 10-year-old son, a 12-year-old son. He's a chill boy. Yeah. And how did he get to that stage? You allowed it to happen. You allowed it to fester. It's like a cancer.
It's a failure of the family, a failure of the society, and a failure of governance.
We are still going into some other hideouts to see if any apprehensions will be made tonight.
To operate within the context of the law with much respect to human rights.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television, and we are reviewing some of the headlines on the dailies this morning. Before we went on a break, we were discussing, the NSAS, but another topic of interest as well on the Blueprint newspaper is the release of the Emir of Bungudu, who regained freedom recently. And another shocking one was the headline that states police confirm kidnap of 2 Lafayette Varsity students.
So it's becoming like a case of release, abduct,
release.
I mean, it's sad. It's not funny, but that's where we are today. What's your response to that?
I think government needs to go all out and end kidnapping. That's the only way out. It just can't continue. Nobody can travel now. You can't leave Abuja and say you're going to Lokoja, and until you get there, the people that will be calling, where are you, where are you? Do you understand? Because they don't know what is going on. And sometimes I wonder, how did we get here? This thing started gradually, and then we watched it get to this point. Like the system in Nigeria, things start and then we wait until it gets really bad before we begin to respond. Now, kidnapping has become attractive. So government needs to make it unattractive. I don't know how it is going to do it, but kidnapping needs to be made unattractive. Somebody will just be broke now and ask that, okay, and just decide that that's what I'm going to do because he's going to take the ransom. Do you understand? And it's very unfortunate. when they kidnapped one of our colleagues' neighbor not long ago, during the negotiation, because our colleague was the one that was negotiating, you could tell that the person was broke and he was desperate because he kept on. When the guy said, "I don't have 2 million," it's okay, bring 1 million. I don't have 1 million, bring 700. Do you understand? So you could tell that he just wanted money at that time. Government needs to go all out. In fact, I think if it declares like a war, a total war against this thing, I think it will come to an end. Because this idea of we'll wait, one big kidnapping will happen, and by a big, I mean maybe one emir or one very prominent person, and then they issue statements upon statement. In fact, in the newsroom, I can actually tell you what the statement will contain because I've seen too many of such statements. Do you understand? And then after we issue that statement, maybe after a week or two, the person is released, and then we relax again. And then another one happens, and then another one happens. It can't continue like this. Look at this one, students. Students. We're talking about a situation where we need to improve education. People need to go to school. You need to talk to people to go to school and all of that. How will they go to school when this abduction is going on? These are even university students, so they are a bit mature. Do you understand? But look at the situation where they are kidnapping primary school children. What will you tell the mother to allow that child to go back to school if he is rescued? What? So the quality of education, the number of out-of-school children will continue to increase because this is ongoing.
And that in itself is a disaster.
It is a disaster for the future of this country. These are the leaders of tomorrow, and they cannot even have access to education. Not to talk of the fact that people cannot go to farms anymore because they are scared that they'll be kidnapped. That one is on another side because the cost of food today in Nigeria is due to that. When you want to quarrel in the market that why is it so expensive, they tell you that we can't go to the farms because of all of this. So it is time for government to actually declare a war on this, not make a statement, just make it. This government has just like a year plus to leave the office. If this is one thing they can end, honestly, I'm sure every Nigerian will be happy.
All right. Well, I think we'll end it at this point. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the dailies on Daybreak. We've been speaking with Stella Iyaji, the managing editor of Daily Trust newspaper. Thank you so much for coming.
Great to have you as always.
Thank you.
All right. All right. We'll take a quick break now, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at other discussions on the program. Stay with us, please.
African fabric is finding its way to the global stage. But Nigeria is losing out on big textile spenders as the local industry faces imminent extinction.
Behind me is the Arewa Textile Mill, established in 1963 and eventually closed down in 2004.
From over 180 textile mills in the 70s, only about 25 mills now operate at less than 40% capacity.
I'm an employee of Arewa Textile PLC before it closed. After a month, I was just like a madman.
In a day, they laid off 4,500.
The once thriving sector struggles to compete with an annual import of $4 billion.
Smuggling is the order of the day.
For manufacturers, we cannot compete.
We visit the nation's textile hubs to seek answers to why the sector has failed to return to its glory days despite government's intervention.
Get latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the Trust TV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search Trust TV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Nice to see you, sir. You got a 10-year-old son, a 12-year-old son. He's a shill boy. Yeah. And how did he get to that stage? You allowed it to happen. You allowed it to fester. It's like a cancer.
It's a failure of the family, a failure of the society, and a failure of governance.
We are still going into some other hideouts to see if any apprehensions will be made tonight.
To operate within the context of the law with much respect to human rights.
All right, thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak on Trust Television, and this time around we're going into the discussion about sustainable agriculture. Agriculture is one aspect of the Nigerian economy that is an employer of labor for many, and over time we've seen quite a number, a very high percentage of Nigerians have been engaging in agriculture, but there's a decline due to activities of banditry and other insecurity activities in the country. And now we have in the studio Architect Kabiru Ibrahim, President All Farmers Association of Nigeria, to talk to us about the implication of the recent realities that we have been experiencing as far as agriculture is concerned. Good morning.
And good morning. How are you? Thank you. Good morning. Thank you.
Now, in the 2022 budget, over 290 billion naira was allocated to agriculture. But some experts have said that that's like 1.8% of the recommendation of the Maputo declaration, which is 10% of the budget. Are we doing enough as far as agricultural production is concerned?
There are two things now you're talking about. The proposed 291 billion to agriculture, and then the Maputo declaration. We have to look at the total activity in the agriculture space and the total allocation to the cross-cutting issues in agriculture and the interventions from the CBN, NALDA, and many other windows. When you aggregate all those, we are doing over 10%. But it's still a proposal. This budget is a proposal. I'm not going to dwell on it because until it is passed, it is not something that we can talk about. So in the last 6 years, Nigeria has done a lot of work on agriculture. We have a lot of investments in agriculture, and it is far beyond the Maputo declaration. But you need to really look at everything. You aggregate everything and you see what is happening. But there are many, many threats to food production, one of which is insecurity. Insecurity is really a problem. I come from Katsina. I'm from the southernmost part of Katsina, and in my village, you cannot go 1 kilometer southwest to your farm. To that extent, production is really threatened, and this is all over Nigeria now. We used to have problems in the northeast. It came to the northwest, north central, and now it's all over the country. And there are many, many other threat factors. COVID-19 is an obvious one and is global. So, and of course, we don't have many things here that will really revamp agriculture, like mechanization. The findings of research don't come to the table readily, but now with the signing of the PVP Act, which we launched about 2.5 months ago, we will be able to do that. And then the ARCN bill, and then we have the Seed Act of 2019. So many, many things are happening, but it's work in progress. We are trying to get to food sufficiency before we get to food security. But a lot of work is being done by this administration.
Okay, do you think that it's time to have a look at how we do farming in Nigeria? You talk about mechanized farming, yes, but again, there's also another threat of insecurity. is it time we begin to look at maybe bringing together farmers in clusters? In that way you can provide security, adequate security, and even also introduce, or I would say adopt mechanized method of farming. Will that be a recommendation you will agree with, just like other experts have suggested?
Well, the thing that is happening is that farmers operate in clusters in many places already. We will do more. It is better to do more, as in the interest of the practitioners to come together and have a cooperative association, at least to safeguard insecurity. But then again, when you mention technology or mechanization and all that, you have to understand that a lot of these things are brought from abroad, and you buy them, and we need to look inwards. The technology that is here must be such that we should be able to produce at least some parts of the equipment that we import abroad, and we should be able to really model what we bring so that we now adopt the technology and have it here, because you know Nigeria is so vast and the requirement for mechanization is so vast. No country will just depend on importing it to do it. All the countries that are exporting what you are talking about started from here. If you take Brazil, you know, we have a pact with Brazil that we are going to borrow 1.1 billion, you know, of mechanized items like tractors, combined harvesters, threshers, and all those things. Now, Brazil some time ago was referred to as a third world country. It started all these things inward, and then they are here now. If you take India, if you take all other countries of the world, that's how they started. So we must have technology adoption here. The science incubation centers have to work properly. All institutions have to work properly for us to be able to really get there. But if we depend on importation, we will never get there. Okay. Because the level of mechanization here is very low. If Kenya is a lot better than us.
Okay. So what level are we with food security in Nigeria?
Food security, but for the COVID-19 and this insecurity would have been very high. You know, we were working on, and we were encouraging farmers to do agriculture as a business. And we were looking at our population in 2050, which would be like 400 million, and the total global population to be like 10 billion. And we were working on it. Then suddenly COVID-19 came, and then we are really drawn back. But this is global. Everywhere in the world is suffering the same fate. So for now, we need to work a lot more to get to food sufficiency, and we are a bit far away from food security. The things we have to work together, we have to synergize all the interventions that happen in the agriculture space, and then we will make progress towards food security. From the exact science, I cannot guess.
All right, now in terms of educating farmers, to, use the best inputs, the best way, the best methods, the best approach to boost production and all of that, how well are we taking advantage of that?
The interview you are having with me now is, I believe, I don't know your coverage, but most of our people are listening, and we are present in 774 local governments. We are in all the states, including FCT. As soon as we talk, people hear what we have to say. The farmers hear what we say in their own languages. So this is a work in progress. We are disseminating information as it comes to us. Now, technology in itself is being misunderstood properly. If we tell you the spacing between seeds that you plant, how to use fertilizer, how to even identify seed. We have the seed codex now. There are many improvisations in the agriculture space. Seed will have to be certified by the NASC. There is an act now. To know good seed, it has to pass the tests of NASC. And then there is an improvisation now that if you have a bag of any seed, there is something like you have on your recharge card. You remove it, you see the number, and you confirm that it is actually from that card. So we are doing a lot of work to be sure that we are using the right kind of thing. There are complaints about certain inputs, herbicides and all that are adulterated. We are teaching our people to look for the correct thing. You know, when you look at it, you label it, you know exactly what it is. And then we are also working with scientists to get certain seed types that are resistant to some of these diseases, like pot borer and all those things, and striga and all. So many people are working. We have scientists in the field working, and they are releasing commercial quantities of seeds to be used. So a lot of work is going on, but we have to get all our act together.
Okay, so a follow-up to that will be that we are aware about this fertilizer control bill that your association is pushing for at the National Assembly. Can you highlight some of the provisions of that bill and what is it?
No, maybe you are mistaken. The fertilizer bill has been passed. In fact, now you cannot just sell fertilizer without regulation. It's regulated. We have the soil bill and we have the fertilizer bill. As far as we are concerned, fertilizers are being blended inwards, in country. And there is a lot of effort by Dangote, Indorama and all that to even do urea. So we are clear on what we want to do. But the distribution and subsidy is what is the problem now. You know, before now, 2 years, I mean in the last 4 years, we have had the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, which was selling fertilizer to people at 5,500, and last year at 5,000 only. This year, that fertilizer is in the region of 11,200. So many people cannot afford it. Rather, some of them we hear are buying the components that you bring in from Morocco and abroad, and they are using it directly and blending themselves. But we have 44 blending plants, and they are monitored. They have an association, and they will not allow adulterated fertilizer to go into the market. This is real. I mean, I'm talking with them. We know them, and so many of my friends have got these facilities.
Okay. So now, how would you describe the status of genetically modified foods in Nigeria?
Well, there are quite a few of them that have been released already, and even on my farm today, there are some that I have planted. I'm looking at them. We have the PBR cowpea, which has been commercialized. It's the work was done in Zaria. Professor Ishaku has been doing it. We have the Taylor maize now that is already out. And then, of course, we have been working on cotton. We have the Bolgat too and all that. So, and this is the fastest way for the farmer to get out of poverty. And then it's the fastest way also to get to get food security.
Okay.
Yes.
But let me talk about acceptance. How is the level of acceptance?
You see, there is a difference between talking about something and scientifically analyzing it.
Right.
For me, you know, I told you my background is science, and we have traveled all over the world to look at what is happening on genetically modified foods. In 2017, I attended a global conference on food security in Ithaca. Ithaca is in Cornell and is the best university in agriculture. At that time, so many people came, and so many antis. These antis making noise about GM causing this, and we have challenged everyone. Show us any connection between disease and any of these crops. Scientific connection. Don't just sit in your home and say people will get sick by eating this. No, show us the nexus. Nobody has been able to do that. Now, all these ones you are talking about, PBR, like the PBR cowpea that I'm talking about, already in Nigeria we have a deficit of 500,000 metric tons of beans. The way to close it is to adopt this PBR cowpea. This PBR cowpea is safe. In fact, it was the work was done by led by Professor Ishaku. He is in IIR right now, and no scientist has shown that there is a connection between eating that and any disease. So the farmers also are not even concerned. You know, the farmers simply want to get out of this, and they eat this thing, and nobody has fallen sick because they have eaten it. It is up to you, the educated people, to now embrace what we are doing. If you embrace it, we will be better for it. Many of the things that you buy are really genetically modified. Any rice that comes into Nigeria, this yellow, whatever, they are all genetically modified. You know, what we must do, you know, in the United States, what they do is they label, this is organic food, this is GM food, this is inorganic food. We must be able to do that, because you cannot deceive people. People should have a choice.
Right.
You should be open and transparent on all these things. If this is GM, label it as GM. I have a choice. Okay. So that's it.
All right. Now let's talk about insecurity some more. About the issues of farmer-herders clash and crisis. We've been seeing a whole lot of conversation and certain measures taken by some states. Some even go as far as we are banning open grazing and all of that as a way to curb the issue of farmer-herder crisis. What's the association doing? Your association, as far as these conflicts are concerned, how have they been engaging, in these conversations?
There are two issues now, put together. The farmer-herder clash has been there from time immemorial. I started out as a child farmer. At 6, I was escorting my dad to farm on horseback. And what my recollection is that the so-called herders or pastoralists would be on the periphery of my father's farm. The people will be working on the farm. They are waiting for us to harvest, and then the animals will eat the residue. And they will drop dung, which we would use as fertilizer. We had a symbiotic relationship. Now, Mieti Allah and Afan, Mieti Allah belongs to Afan. I am a livestock farmer. I have cattle. I'm not, it's wrong to imagine that somebody has cattle, so this one is not a farmer. No, we are together and we have had a very good relationship. But criminality came in, and these criminals are the ones that are carrying guns and hurting people. A lot of these things have happened. Even the current president, when he was in PTF, he caused some work to be done on the re-establishment of grazing routes and grazing reserves and drinking places from Dankama in Katsina State to Oshobo. There is a route, defined route, but our people have encroached on it. We have built on them. We have also developed farms along the route. So when the animals move, definitely the animals will stray into some of these things, and there are skirmishes. Those skirmishes that have been happening over time were restricted to machete sometimes and stick, but not AK-47. Never AK-47, but there is criminality now, and so many people are now using the farmer-herder conflict to generate more conflict. But all of it is a lot of politics in it. Before the advent of politics, 21, 22 years ago, these things had become very, very prevalent. Prior to that, we never had anything like that. We should blame what is happening today on drugs, unemployment, and the elites. I will tell you this: when you see a Fulani man with 200 herd of cattle, he might not own them. He might just own about 10. The rest are really ours. There was cattle rustling. We armed these people to protect their animals from being rustled. This is how it began. Then now, our boys and our children and girls and even married women take drugs. These drugs are responsible for the footmen in politics. The other day, about 2 months ago, there was a workshop in the Muhammad Buhari Conference Center at the NIA. I presented a paper. I told the politicians that it was done by NAS. I told them that, look, you are responsible for some of these things that happen, because you are the people using these young people as footmen. You give them drugs, they abuse people, and then you win your elections and all that. These people, after the elections, you don't see them, nobody gives them anything, and they now resort to violence, kidnapping, and all these things are as a result of that. The man in NDLE now is doing a good job, and we have told him, we have written to him, we have congratulated him. You and I should work in making our families secure, discourage our people from using drugs, make sure that there is no politics in all of this. The southern governors who are talking about, who are against open grazing and all that, are coming from a position of lack of understanding and education on what really happens. Some of the people who come into Nigeria are not coming from Nigeria only. This pastoralism is from East, North Africa, and some part of West Africa. I attended a program in AU at Addis Ababa. We had so many of these things, and everybody has this problem. But Nigerian problem is more because of these arms that I'm telling you.
So do you have a problem with certain provisions in the open grazing bill?
Provisions in the open grazing or the curtailing or the restriction or semi-sedentarization of the pastoralists through the NLTP.
Right.
I have no problem with that. In fact, as an architect, I have worked with that program. I have, you know, when you sedentarize them, you are going to provide them the animals fodder. You provide schools for the pastoralists, clinics. You find that you even provide for value addition for their milk and the meat. And then you can create a symbiotic relationship. You know, the people in the South are mistaken. I had a tour of the Southwest some time ago, I think from the 27th of last month to 30th of last month. In Oyo Town, I discussed with the Alafin, and I had him, he addressed us. He said that, look, Fulani are part of them. There is a very good relationship between them and Fulani. So the question of asking Fulani to go anywhere, outside is a fallacy. So we really need to look at this thing. You know, we just don't talk about this. Just let us analyze what is happening and then say what we have to say, and that would help the whole nation. These people, if they are Nigerians, they deserve respect. They deserve fair treatment. Okay. Nobody should just sit down and say, no, we will not allow them. Then what about, if you do that, just take for instance, the Fulani people are northerners for the sake of this discussion, and you say they are not allowed there. So what about the non-northerners that are sitting in our places and doing business? Are we going to ask them to go?
So what are other ways of, or I would say approaches to dealing with this criminality that seem to have now infiltrated, some very diligent and law-abiding citizens, who are herders? How do we go about this? What are the other areas of dealing with it?
Well, you see, a lot of work is being done by the security agents. If you look closely now, there is some respite. In fact, probably the military solution is not going to be the end in all. You have to, adopt non-military solutions. And these non-military solutions are where we come in. You need a change of mindset. You need the youngsters to appreciate that they don't have to wait for white-collar jobs, and they don't have to take drugs to escape. You also teach the parents and tell the parents that they are being irresponsible by disallow or by not looking at what their children are doing. The whole thing is a matter of looking inwards. You cannot say government. Who is government? You and I, we are government. So nobody will arrogate to themselves the knowledge of how to solve the problems. But it starts from the family. You in your own home, be sure that the correct thing is being done. To show your child or your offspring or your school leaver child that getting anything from anybody illegitimately will not last. He will not even come out to eat it. He will be hiding in the bush. Take all these people doing kidnapping. This kidnapping, what intrigues me about it is, if I go to, I'm from Katsina, I can't come by road from Kaduna. If I can't get a plane from Katsina, I come by road to Kaduna and then come by rail to this place. Now, I have had people who went by road and they were kidnapped and kept in the bush. And then some of them even paid 10 million, 20 million, and they paid to these people who are in the bush. Do you think you can use 10 million while you are sitting in the bush? No. Can you use it? So, which means that they have cohorts in the cities. So, a lot of work has to be done. Right. Because if you take 10 million and you take it to a very far-flung bush, what will you do with it?
All right, one other issue that is a factor contributing to this food inflation and food security is the issue of hoarding. How is the association dealing with this issue of hoarding by some, I would say, traders or maybe farmers?
You see, hoarding, even though Mr. President has said it, but hoarding is not really the main thing. There are many acts of commission and omission from the part of some institutions. I will tell you this, and I want you to quote me. The CBN intervention is very good. It is making food available. But by an act of commission, they have what they call the prime anchors. These prime anchors are people who get 1 billion, 2 billion to give to outgrowers who will grow some food crops for them, like paddy and maize. Now, instead of these prime anchors to give the outgrowers, the real farmers to do it, they are following the markets and buying off these produce. So when you buy during inflation, you exacerbate inflation. This is what is happening. Otherwise, show me the people who are holding, get their stores and break them and see whether you have anything there. You know, I don't know how old you are, but you know, when I was in Zaria in the late 70s and early 80s, there were people who were identified as hoarders. I remember in Zaria, around Sabangari area, if you go now, you will see old stores. There was a merchant, a very rich man, who was hoarding and keeping things there. In 1 year, I don't remember which year was it. Was it either 80 or 81? The law enforcement officers came and broke the shops, and they brought grains that were already broken, infested by insects and all that. Today, I'm not sure that you will see it anywhere. There may be some of it, but it is not the main cause. The main cause is many things are happening. Inflation is there, but on all aspects of Nigerian life, not only food. But the one that affects food is the one that is most felt by people. What it is that we have inflation, no doubt, but we are forgetting the purchasing power of the naira, which has been dwindling. It is unheard of. In the last 30 years, we have not seen where during harvest you also have skyrocketing prices of food. It is only now. Why? It is tangential to the value of the naira. Go to zone 4 today. Naira is, a dollar is about 580. In the banks is 430 and you don't get it in the bank. So there is inflation. The value of the naira is low. So when I sell my paddy at 15,000, don't tell me that I am a Shylock. Rather, I'm selling it to buy other things that I don't produce. And I'm getting value because I have to also buy certain inputs that I use to produce the rice. So it's a catch-22.
All right, then. Let's go on a quick break now, and then when we come back, the discussion will continue on Daybreak. Please stay with us.
All right, welcome back. You are still watching Daybreak on Trust Television, and we are still discussing sustainable agriculture in Nigeria.
We have in the studio architect Kabiru Ibrahim, president of Farmers Association of Nigeria, and he's been sharing with us his thoughts on how to promote sustainable agriculture in Nigeria. Let's have your final thoughts now. In the midst of the dwindling fortunes of oil, like many people have said, there's a need to look elsewhere for revenue, for the Nigerian economy. Agriculture definitely gives an opportunity, but what are your expectations going forward for us to be able to really maximize some of the opportunities therein?
Well, we are on the right course, but we should have continuity of policy. The agriculture promotion policy, Alliance Green Alternative, should continue. We should consolidate that, invest more, and get people or farmers to do agriculture as a business. Then we will have food sufficiency and food security. This is my advice to Nigerians. You at the beginning you said there was a loss of interest on the part of agriculture. No, I'm telling you that even today I can hear vibrations on my phone. Right now, before dusk, I will get like 20, 30 calls of young people wanting to get into agriculture. Agriculture is in the front burner now in Nigeria. The only thing is that we have to synergize all the issues. All those people who are participating in the agriculture space should work together. We should have the right kind of synergy and we will be there. CBN, NALDA, other windows, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, the farmers and all should work together and have synergy. Then we will produce more than our expectations. We have a lot of cultivable land and irrigable land. We are using just 40% of it.
And that's the percentage is quite low.
Yeah, very, very low, really. For us to be able to bridge that gap of food insecurity, like we are saying, definitely there's need to pay more attention to the agricultural sector. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
We hope to have you next.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah,
thank you.
We've been speaking with the president of All Farmers Association of Nigeria, architect Kabiru Ibrahim, sharing with us his thoughts. Thank you again. We look forward to having you again on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, let's take this quick break, and then when we come back, on the front burner again is the issue of water supply in the FCT. There's a proposal to shut down water supply from today and tomorrow in the FCT. Certain areas are affected. I will be joined by the director from that agency to discuss that. Stay with us after the short break.
My name is Samuel Dada. Yakubu Isa, ana mana kabila jeji.
Aminu Mufa.
A wannan harkar ce muke dan samun abinci, an muke taimaka mu wasu da yawa.
Looking for private jobs, sometimes you get employed and the process of payment, you undergo some kind of stress.
Suleiman, Aya, and Tari, all from the Sulubawa clan, with a unique wealth of culture and deep love for cattle, which truly reflects their sense of family. But over time, everything changes, with no lands for grazing. Experience the incredible story of the Fulani people. Loved ones they must protect, the journey they must take.
This is the spot, a marking signifying the starting point of the dam.
40. No compensation has been given to any community member and no place has been earmarked for their relocation.
Since why they go, they never come back.
And this is where the hydroelectric power dam is supposed to be constructed. But for many years, the story has remained the same. This is the site of the proposed hydroelectric power station in Mambila. But the irony is, no construction has even commenced yet.
African fabric is finding its way to the global stage. But Nigeria is losing out on big textile spenders as the local industry faces imminent extinction. Behind me is the Arewa Textile Mill, established in 1963 and eventually closed down in 2004. From over 180 textile mills in the 70s, only about 25 mills now operate at less than 40% capacity.
I'm an employee of Arewa Textile PLC before it closed. After a month, I was just like a madman.
In a day, they laid off 4,500.
The once thriving sector struggles to compete with an annual import of $4 billion.
Smuggling is the order of the day.
For manufacturers, we cannot compete.
We visit the nation's textile hubs to seek answers to why the sector has failed to return to its glory days despite government's intervention.
Get latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the Trust TV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search Trust TV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Nice to see you, sir. You got a 10-year-old son, a 12-year-old son. He's a shill boy. Yeah. And how did he get to that stage? You allowed it to happen. You allowed it to fester. It's like a cancer.
It's a failure of the family, a failure of the society, and a failure of governance.
We are still going into some other hideouts to see if any apprehensions will be made tonight.
To operate within the context of the law with much respect to human rights.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television. Right about now, it is time for us to kickstart the second discussion on the show, and talking about the water supply shutdown. You know, I saw a circular, on social media making rounds that the water board is going to shut down for 5 days, and residents have been complaining, about that. Some are already making provisions, for the shutdown.
And some are panicking, really, considering the fact that water has become a huge issue. I mean, a sachet of pure water now, they call it. About 20 naira for a bag is 300 naira. So
some places 400 actually.
Exactly. So it raises the whole, need for us to look at the availability of water in the FCT. And like my co-anchor said, we have in the studio Dr. Joy Okoro, General Manager, FCT Water Board. Good morning, and it's good to have you join us.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So from the circular we saw, that shutdown is supposed to commence today and tomorrow, and then Friday, and then other days, of course. Why is this necessary, really?
It is very necessary. Like you just said, we've been on air for the past 5 days, informing the general public that we are going to have a rehabilitation at the Lower Osman Dam. And why we did that was to assure the public, asking them to reserve water so that the plight will not be much. Because we all know that water is life. We just talked about sachet water and the rest of them. So we just took note of this, that this rehabilitation is very, very important for us and the general public. We have there is a slab where all water treated will be sent to the slab, to the tank, and before it is being distributed to the general public. So this construction has been there for the past 38 years. And under normal circumstances, we have this issue of not really getting from the water treatment process. Once the slab water gets into the tank, the slab is a concrete slab, there's some residual of chlorine. That is a normal process. That residual chlorine is what we think is necessary to allow the slab live to the number of years it's supposed to be. And like I said, it has been there for the past 38 years. So we now have some minor issues that are coming up, which we felt that the best thing is to take off the slab and reconstruct. The process has been on, the reconstruction and the rehabilitation has been on. We've done about 83%. What is left is just 17%. And that 17% is to have a bypass so that water will be linked to these other trunk mains to be distributing the water, because the job itself to construct this slab is going to take 6 whole months. That is with steady work by the contractor. So that bypass is just necessary for the inhabitants of FCT to keep having water.
Okay, so what is the duration of the repairs and what part of the FCT will it affect?
Yes, like I said, the duration is 6 months. That is from now on, apart from the fact that we have achieved 83%. And it's going to affect almost all parts of the city.
Oh.
For instance, we are going to have Garki. We have Garki 1, Garki 2, Wuse District, Wuse 1, Wuse 2, Asokoro, Maitama, the business CDB, that's a Central Business District. We are going to, even the military barracks will be affected. Karunyanya will be affected, airport, Gwagwalada University, then Gwagwalada. So we have about 10 areas where we'll have this problem. And that is why we went on air to assure Nigerians that there will be no problem. Kindly store your water. We ask everybody to have reservoirs. If you don't have, I know many people have reservoirs in the city. And those that don't have, they should please get 1 or 2 to store water because of the importance of water to everyone.
So how is this repairs going to enhance the supply of water in the FCT?
It's going to really enhance in the sense that it's not as if we've not been having potable water, quality water in the FCT, but it is necessary because of that residual chlorine that has settled on the slabs. If we don't do that, it will definitely collapse, and that will be catastrophic in the city. So the best thing is to arrest the situation now, so that the water supply will move on without any interruption.
Okay.
So as this is done, of course, FCT residents will keep enjoying our water, and there will be no issue of the unknown, because the unknown will be the collapse.
Right.
So it's better to arrest the situation on time before it gets bad.
Okay, so is this shut down for the few days? Does it have any connection with the rising price of water we are seeing presently?
No, not with FCT Water Board yet. Although we're trying to do that, our water is very, very cheap. A cubic meter of water, we sell it for 80 naira, which is 5 drops of water. Nowhere in the country water is sold like that. And for the fact that we produce the best water in Africa, I'm proud to say that. So,
are you talking about the FCT now or Nigeria as a whole?
You mean the FCT water?
Are you talking about the FCT water now or Nigeria generally?
The FCT water board produces the best water in Africa. And our cost is just 80 naira per cubic meter, which is very, very cheap. So, like I said, 5 drops of water, 5 drums of water for 80 naira. Isn't it that cheap?
Is that cheap, really?
5. So
shouldn't it be that
If you
cheap?
say drop, what's the quantity of that drop? If you say drop, because for one to really have a good image of that, a graphic image of that, when you say 5 drops, what's the quantity?
5 drums of water.
Okay, drums.
Drums.
Oh,
okay.
Drums.
Okay,
you know the big drums?
Yes.
Okay, I thought I had drops.
No, drums.
Okay.
So you can imagine.
Okay, that's quite cheap.
That's quite cheap.
Very, very cheap. Very
really cheap for clean water.
So we are working towards raising our tariff to be able to meet up. One, the infrastructure that is already on ground. Secondly, the treatment chemicals.
But why do we see this rise in the price of sachet water, for instance, in the FCT when it's that cheap, coming from the FCT water board?
Well, I wouldn't know because we're not concerned with that. I think the regulatory body should do something about that. If we are giving 5 drops of water for 80 naira, I don't think sachet water should be that high. Well, it could be the cost of the production, just like what we are saying. So many things are in place. They have to buy what they use in packaging. They have to make sure that there is light for them to sell. All these things are money valued. So I think maybe that could be the reason why sachet water is going high.
Okay. Now, what are some of the efforts that the FCT Water Board is putting in place to ensure that there is access to drinking water in other parts of the FCT that are yet to be, among the areas that were mentioned here?
Okay, the areas we are mentioning here, no, they are all already reticulated. Many of them are already reticulated. So, but in furtherance to that, the FCT administration, through my humble honorable minister, FCT Malam Musa Bello, he's doing a lot to make sure that most areas or districts in FCT is being reticulated so that we can have water to all the residents in FCT. Meanwhile, we have 4 treatment plants. Each plant 1 and 2, produces 5,000 cubic meter per hour. So for the 2 plants, 1 and 2, produces 10,000 cubic meters, which is good. Then plant 3 and 4, each produces 10,000 cubic meters, which is 20,000 cubic meters per hour. So we have a lot of water to give to the residents of Abuja. But because of the way the city was planned, the reticulation or distribution was done in phases. And this had been in place, you understand? But because of the influx of people into the city is growing at alarming rate. Thus, the need, like you said, to get these residents enjoy our water. But everything is being put in place. There's ongoing construction of getting the pipes laid here and there for water to come in or get water. Then there's a treatment plant being constructed in Karshi, which will give the rural community over there water, including Karu, because some parts of Karu they don't have that reticulation available. And maybe recently you must have heard we had a mini plant in Abaji, which was commissioned by my Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Ramatu. Tijani Aliyu last December. So all this we are trying to, the administration is trying to do, put everything in place so that residents of Abuja and even environs can enjoy potable quality water.
Okay, now talking about distribution, for the past months I've heard Kubwa residents complain, about water supply. And now they are worried that with this shutdown, is it also going to disrupt their supply because they are already having problems with supply? Is this in any way going to disrupt that subsequently?
Really, maybe I didn't mention that earlier. Apart from the fact that we are creating this bypass and informing the general public about the rehabilitation, we have made efforts right now to get water tankers to supply water to all these areas. In fact, by today, we'll be releasing all the telephone numbers of our area managers. We have 16 area offices, including Abaji. Though Abaji is just taking free water, they are not paying any dime for now. So the 16 area offices, area managers' numbers will be on air so that all residents of Abuja, wherever they are located, can call when they need water and we supply them with water.
Is this going to be free?
Sure, that's the palliative.
Oh, wow.
Intervention, isn't it? To cushion the effects, isn't it?
To cushion the effect. And to make sure that our water is being delivered the way it is, we are going to sanitize all the area of it, disinfect all the tankers before giving them the water. So we have lifting point. We've assured that we've met with the management of the tanker drivers, so water tanker drivers. So we've been assured they get to our lifting point, take water, and they will be led to the areas where this water is being needed.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about other aspects in terms of the payment for water supply. You talk about the Abaji, for instance, that they enjoy free water on all of that. In terms of payment, what's the status at the moment when we see people complain about water supply, but then not many people talk about the bills to be paid for water? How is that coming? Is it encouraging, really, the kind of payment that we see as far as water bills are concerned?
No, thank you very much for having that intuition. People complain they don't have water. They never talk about payment for the water. Actually, I wouldn't say Nigerians are not trying. They are trying, but not equitable to what we provide. Like I said, water is very, very expensive to get to the point of consumption. One, the infrastructure that is already there, which are being maintained daily. Because some people will say, oh, there was this pipe burst, I saw water gushing out. That pipe burst, nobody knew it was going to happen. It just happened like that. And it has to be fixed immediately, or else water will be wasted. And this is well-treated water. Then you talk about the chemicals. What we treat is raw water, which is not good for the human consumption. So every effort is made. Chemicals are being put in place to treat this water. And at the end of the day, you send your water bill to residents, to offices, like your office. At the end of the month, we get nothing. It's quite discouraging. So that's why I said, well, I wouldn't say they are not trying. They are trying. I don't want to be negative about it. I want to be positive that they are trying. But much effort needs to be put in place. And I want to thank the media for assisting us all this time, because through our customer care forum, which the pressmen have been coming to hear us and plead with our customers too, we've been having interactive sections. Among the 16 area offices, we've done 15 this year, and there is positive result. For instance, our IGR had increased, and we hope it will keep on. Because we are pleading, we have given you the necessary thing you need in life, because without water nobody can live. We have done that, and we expect a thank you. And what's a thank you? Pay our bills.
So what happens when people do not pay these bills? How does it, affect your work, and what are the actions that are taken, to deal with this?
Yes, after all this pleading, and they don't pay, what we do is shut them down. We stop the water flowing in their premises. For instance, if Daily Trust refuses to pay us, we'll come here and
shut down.
So, because we've done the effort, we have pleaded, please help us to be able to sustain the infrastructures that are in place to get this commodity very close to you. So, we have no other option than to do that.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and speaking with us. We've been speaking with Dr. Joy Okoro, who is the Director, FCT Water Board, talking to us about the recent plan to shut down water supply in some areas of the FCT. Thank you for coming. We hope to have you again
next time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the good work you are doing. Also help us more to talk to the general public that we are there to serve them better.
Right.
And the more they respond to payment of the bills we give them, very little bills, 80 naira per cubic meter, is very, very cheap.
Right.
So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll go on a quick break now, and then when we come back, the discussion will continue on Daybreak. Stay with us.
Nice to see you, sir. You got a 10-year-old son, a 12-year-old son. He's a shill boy. Yeah. And how did he get to that stage? You allowed it to happen. You allowed it to fester. It's like a cancer.
It's a failure of the family, a failure of the society, and a failure of governance.
We are still going into some other hideouts to see if any apprehensions will be made tonight.
To operate within the context of the law with much respect to human rights.
All right, thank you for staying with us. It's Daybreak reaching you from Trust Television. Yes, we've been having very interesting conversations.
Quite interesting.
On the show. Yeah, starting with the last one about shutting down water supply in the FCT. Just to get it right and put the record straight, we do pay our water bill.
Yes,
so don't go with the impression. Don't go with the impression that we don't pay our water bill.
She actually said, if Daily Trust doesn't pay, we'll shut them down.
Of course,
so that's the statement.
Yes, that's the standard practice. But we do pay our water bills, just in case anyone is having the perception that Daily Trust is, in the habit of not paying. We do. And so we expect, all members of the public and also residents to also do likewise, to pay their water bills, pay all the bills, because that's the only way our agencies get to function optimally. And then, of course, we talked about the issue of, promoting sustainable agriculture in Nigeria, where we had Dr. Kabiru Ibrahim, the president of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, talk to us about the need to do more as far as that is concerned. In case you missed and you joined late, well, you can catch up on our social media handles by subscribing to our YouTube channel and also following us across all social media handles. We do this every weekday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Join us for more. My name is Ayuba Ilya.
And I'm Zainab Bala. But before we go, I would like to tell you that be rest assured that this is all maintenance and water supply will be back soon. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for watching. Bye for now.